Lily, a 9-year-old girl, sat quietly in the corner of the orphanage, clutching a faded photo of her parents. Her small fingers traced the edges of the picture as silent tears streamed down her face. She had always been the quiet type, never wanting to draw attention to herself, but the pain in her heart made it impossible to hold back her tears. The photo was the only piece of her parents she had left, and sometimes it felt like that was all she had in this world. It had been 2 years since the accident that changed everything. 2 years since Lily's world had shattered, and nothing had ever felt the same since. Her parents were gone, and Lily was left with a hole in her heart so big that nothing could fill it. No amount of kind words from the caregivers at the orphanage, no new friends, nothing could make her feel whole again. The memories of her family, of the love they shared, were fading, and all she had left were those silent, lonely nights. But one day something happened that sparked a tiny flicker of hope inside her chest. It was a day like any other at the orphanage when Lily overheard something that would change everything. She was helping a younger child with a craft when she heard 2 of the caregivers talking in the hall. Their voices were low, but Lily caught the most important part of their conversation. "Did you hear about the event? Keanu Reeves will be in town this weekend," one caregiver said. Lily froze in place. Her heart raced. Keanu Reeves. The name alone made her feel like she was alive again, like she could almost feel her parents beside her. Her mom had always said how charming Keanu was, and her dad had spent hours laughing while pretending to fight like Keanu from The Matrix. Those moments had been happy times, the kind that made Lily feel safe, loved, and part of something special. Keanu Reeves wasn't just an actor to Lily, he was a symbol of everything she had lost. Her family had loved his movies, and watching them together was one of the happiest memories she had. Even after her parents' deaths, Keanu's films helped her hold on to the past. She would watch them over and over as if doing so would bring her closer to her mom and dad. Hearing that Keanu Reeves would be in town felt like a sign. Lily couldn't ignore it. She felt that tiny spark of hope inside her once again. If she could see him even just for a few moments, maybe it would bring back the good memories of her family. Maybe it would help her feel closer to them. Without thinking twice, Lily rushed to find Mrs. Harper, the head caregiver. She approached her with the kind of hope she hadn't felt in a long time. She explained how much it would mean to her to see Keanu Reeves in person. She poured her heart out, telling Mrs. Harper that it wasn't just about meeting a movie star, it was about reconnecting with the love and laughter she had lost. But Mrs. Harper's response crushed her. "Lily, I know this is important to you, but it's just not possible," she said gently. "The rules are clear. We can't just leave like that. It's too far and it's too dangerous." Lily's heart sank. She didn't want to give up, not now. "Please, Mrs. Harper, I promise I'll be good," she pleaded. "I've never asked for anything before. This is the one thing I need. It would mean everything to me." But Mrs. Harper shook her head. "I'm really sorry, sweetheart, but it's just not something we can allow. It's too risky." Lily stood there for a long moment, feeling completely defeated. She felt like no one understood her pain, her loneliness. The world felt cold and indifferent to her. The empty walls of the orphanage, the cold nights, the constant feeling of being alone, everything seemed even more unbearable now. That night, as everyone else in the orphanage slept, Lily made a decision. If no one was going to help her, then she would do it herself. She couldn't wait any longer for someone to understand her pain. She had to go see Keanu no matter what. She packed her small backpack carefully, placing her precious photo of her family inside, along with a water bottle and a granola bar. She paused for a moment, taking one last look at the room where she had spent so many lonely nights. The walls were cold and lifeless. The bed felt empty. But she had to go. She whispered softly to herself, "I need to do this. I need to remember who I was when they were here." With quiet steps, Lily carefully climbed out of the window. The cold night air brushed against her face, but she didn't care. She had made up her mind, and nothing was going to stop her. She walked through the dark streets, each step taking her further from the safety of the orphanage and closer to the hope she clung to. Walking alone in the dark was scary, but Lily didn't hesitate. She knew that seeing Keanu Reeves would be worth everything. Her heart beat faster with each step, and she could almost feel her parents with her, guiding her on this journey. They would have been proud of her for doing something brave, even if it was scary. After hours of walking, Lily turned a corner and finally saw the lights of the event venue. The crowd gathered around the stage, the sound of excited voices filled the air. It was everything she had imagined. Lily couldn't believe she had made it. She pushed her way through the crowd, trying to get as close to the stage as possible. She squeezed between people, determined to find the best spot to see him. This is it, Lily thought, her heart racing. I'm here. He's going to be here. She gripped the metal barrier tightly, trying to calm her nerves. She looked around, hoping to catch a glimpse of her hero. But just as the excitement was building, the man with the microphone stepped onto the stage. His serious expression made everyone quiet down, and Lily felt her Davidac drop. "Ladies and gentlemen," the man said, his voice serious. "We have an important announcement to make." Lily held her breath, hoping against hope that it would be good news. Maybe Keanu was just running late, or maybe he was on his way. But the man's next words shattered Lily's dreams. "Unfortunately," he said, "Keanu Reeves will not be able to attend today. He had an unexpected commitment and couldn't adjust his schedule." Lily's heart sank. All of her efforts, the long walk, the hope she had clung to, everything had been for nothing. Her legs felt weak and her eyes blurred with tears. But even as the crowd started to murmur in disappointment, Lily still held on to the photo of her parents, clutching it to her chest. She wasn't sure if seeing Keanu would have fixed everything, but she had tried. And in that moment, she realized that sometimes hope is not about getting exactly what you want, but about having the courage to try. Lily's world stopped. The words echoed in her mind, but she couldn't understand them. It couldn't be true. She blinked, hoping she had misheard, but the whispers of disappointment around her told her it was real. The crowd slowly began to leave, but Lily stayed frozen in place. Her hands were still holding onto the barrier. She stared at the empty stage as the lights started to fade. "He didn't come," she whispered, her voice so quiet. "I'll never meet him." Tears fell down Lily's face, but she didn't wipe them away. The disappointment was so strong that it felt like she couldn't breathe. All the walking, the cold, the courage it took to leave the orphanage, it all seemed useless now. She looked around, watching the crowd leave. Some people were complaining, others didn't seem to care. But for Lily, it wasn't just about missing the event. It was her last chance to feel close to the love and happiness she had lost. At that moment, the pain of losing her parents came back even worse than before. She felt the emptiness she carried inside her, and now it was heavier than ever. Why did they have to leave? She thought, her heart aching. And now he's not here either. I have no one. Her eyes swollen from crying, Lily began to walk away from the stage. Her legs felt weak and her steps were slow and heavy. The backpack on her shoulders felt like it weighed a ton. She walked down the dark streets, feeling more alone than ever. The hope that had kept her going seemed to vanish. "Maybe I shouldn't have come," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Maybe I shouldn't even be here in this world." The darkness around her felt like the sadness inside her. Tears kept falling, and the picture of her parents she carried, once a source of comfort, now reminded her painfully of everything she had lost. As Lily walked through a narrow alley to get back to the orphanage faster, something caught her eye. A man in a cap and dark clothes was walking ahead, trying to stay hidden. He looked familiar. Lily blinked, confused. Her heart began to race. For the first time since hearing the bad news at the event, she felt hope. When the man turned slightly, she saw his face. It was him. It was Keanu Reeves. Lily froze for a moment, staring at him. Was it really him? Her heart raced. The man was trying to hide, adjusting his cap to cover his face, but Lily was sure. It was Keanu Reeves. Without thinking, Lily ran toward him, shouting, "Keanu! Keanu Reeves!" The actor stopped and turned around, surprised. His eyes met Lily's as she ran toward him, tears in her eyes and a small smile, as if she wasn't sure this was real. "Hey little one, are you okay? Why are you crying?" he asked. His voice was kind and full of concern. He seemed worried, especially because she was alone so late at night. Lily stopped in front of him, trying to catch her breath. Through her tears, she stammered, "It's you. I knew it was you. I had to find you." Keanu bent down to look at Lily, his face full of concern. "What are you doing here so late? Are you alone?" Lily couldn't stop talking. She told him about the orphanage, how her parents had passed away, and how Keanu's movies had become a family tradition. She told him how her father loved to act out scenes from the movies and how her mother would always joke about them. Those moments were the best part of her life before the accident. Keanu listened carefully, his eyes full of understanding. When Lily finished, she explained how she ran away from the orphanage to see him at the event because she needed something to remind her of her parents. "You're not just an actor to me," Lily said, her voice shaky. "You're a reminder of the happiest moments of my life." Keanu was deeply touched. He took a deep breath and said, "That's really special, Lily. I'm honored to be part of those memories. Your parents sound like amazing people." Keanu led Lily to a nearby bench so they could sit and talk more comfortably. He sat beside her, listening closely as she told him about her life at the orphanage and how she felt like no one truly understood her. Keanu shared some of his own story, talking about the losses he had faced in his life. "I know how it feels to think the world is empty without the people you love," he said softly. There was a strong connection between them, and Keanu didn't just see a fan in Lily. He saw a strong soul, a child who had faced so much at such a young age. "You're really strong, Lily. And stubborn too, aren't you?" he said with a smile. Lily gave a small laugh, feeling understood for the first time in a long while. But then Keanu noticed that her face was starting to turn pale. Her breathing became harder, and small beads of sweat appeared on her forehead. "Lily, are you okay?" he asked, worried. Lily tried to smile, but her voice was weak. I think I'm not feeling well." Keanu quickly held Lily in his arms when she started to go limp. Panic filled his face and he spoke quickly, "Lily, wake up. Stay with me." She opened her eyes for a moment and whispered, "I feel dizzy." Keanu realized something was wrong. He looked around, but the streets were empty. He knew he had to act fast. "Do you have a medical condition?" he asked. With great effort, Lily answered, "I have diabetes, but I brought my medicine." She tried to open her backpack, but her hands were shaking. Keanu helped her, but when they looked, there was no insulin or medicine inside. Lily's eyes filled with fear. I left it at the orphanage," she whispered. Before Keanu could respond, Lily's breathing became harder, and her body went completely limp. Her eyes closed. "Lily, don't do this to me," Keanu shouted, holding her tightly. He immediately turned to his assistant, who was waiting nearby in a car. "Call the nearest hospital now," Keanu ordered. He rushed to the car with Lily in his arms. Keanu carefully placed Lily in the back seat, holding her gently as the driver sped through the streets. During the drive, Keanu kept talking to her, trying to keep her awake. "Lily, stay with me. You're strong. You're stubborn and determined. You can't give up now." The assistant called the hospital, explaining the situation. Keanu kept his eyes on Lily, his worry growing with every shallow breath she took. When they arrived at the hospital, Keanu rushed out of the car with Lily, shouting to the nurses and doctors, "Help! She's unconscious and has diabetes. Please do something." The hospital staff quickly put Lily on a stretcher and took her into the emergency room. Keanu tried to follow, but a nurse gently stopped him, saying, "We need to treat her now." Keanu stepped back, feeling helpless. He sat in the waiting room, his head in his hands. The image of Lily fainting in his arms kept replaying in his mind. He had faced many challenges in his life, but nothing prepared him for this feeling of powerlessness. Time seemed to drag on. Every time a door opened, he looked up, hoping for news. After what felt like forever, a doctor finally came out, his face serious but not hopeless. "We've done everything we can. She's stable now, but we just have to wait and see how she responds," the doctor said. Keanu let out a deep breath, trying to understand what the doctor said. He looked at the door where Lily was and whispered to himself, "You're going to make it, kid. I know you will." The room was quiet as the first light of morning came through the window. Lily slowly opened her eyes. She felt weak but awake. Her vision was blurry at first, but soon she saw a familiar face sitting beside her bed. Keanu Reeves was sitting in a chair, leaning back, looking tired but happy. He smiled when he saw that Lily was awake. "Good morning, little one," he said. "You gave us quite a scare." Lily blinked her eyes a few times, feeling confused. She looked around the room and then at Keanu, wondering if she was still dreaming. "I'm in the hospital and you're still here?" she asked, her voice soft. Keanu chuckled a little. "Yes, you're in the hospital and of course I'm still here. I told you I wouldn't leave you." Lily's eyes filled with tears and she whispered, "Thank you for not leaving me." Just then Mrs. Harper, the caregiver from Lily's foster home, walked into the room looking worried. When she saw Lily awake, she let out a big sigh of relief. "Lily, you're okay," she said, rushing to Lily's side and holding her hand. Then she turned to Keanu with a grateful look. "I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done. If it weren't for you, I don't know what would have happened." Keanu smiled and said, "Lily did all the hard work. She's stubborn and determined. I just did what anyone would do." Mrs. Harper then explained Lily's health problem to Keanu. Lily has type 1 diabetes. It means she has to take medicine and check her blood sugar all the time. It's also made it harder for her to find a family because some people are worried about the cost of the medicine. Lily looked down at the floor, feeling embarrassed. But Keanu reached out and gently held her hand. "This isn't your fault, Lily," he said. "It's not something you chose. And it should never stop you from having a family that loves you." Keanu turned to Mrs. Harper, his face serious but kind. If the problem is the money for her medicine, maybe I can help. Both Lily and Mrs. Harper stared at him, surprised and unsure of what he meant. Keanu looked at Lily, still lying in the bed, and then at Mrs. Harper. I can't change her past, but I can make sure her future is easier. I want to pay for all of Lily's medical bills. Every single one for life. Mrs. Harper was shocked. Mr. Reeves, that's such a kind thing to do, but it's a really big commitment. Keanu smiled softly. I have the money and it's the least I can do for someone so brave. Lily deserves a chance to live a full life without worrying about money. Lily, still confused, looked at Keanu. You're saying you're going to take care of me even if I go to another family? She asked quietly. Keanu leaned in and held her hand again. Yes, little one. No matter where you are, I'll make sure you have everything you need. You deserve that. In the days that followed, Keanu worked with the hospital and Mrs. Harper to set up a special fund for Lily's medical care. He made sure all her medical bills were covered, from insulin to doctor visits. Mrs. Harper couldn't believe how kind Keanu was. He not only paid for the fund, but he also met with the doctors to learn all about Lily's treatment. I want to make sure she gets the best care possible, he said. The day before Lily was going to leave the hospital, Keanu sat beside her bed and had a heartfelt talk with her. Lily, he said, looking into her eyes, you're strong, determined, and incredibly brave. Those are your greatest strengths. Never let anyone tell you otherwise. Lily smiled shyly, her face full of admiration. Do you really think I'm strong? Keanu nodded. Absolutely. You've been through so much and you're still here. Not everyone can do that. You have a bright future, Lily. Use your stubbornness to chase your dreams. With her medical expenses taken care of, Lily's chance to be adopted became much easier. Mrs. Harper shared some good news with her. A family is interested in meeting you, Lily, but they were worried about the costs. Now that everything is taken care of, they're ready to meet you. They're wonderful people, Lily, Mrs. Harper said. I'm sure they'll love you. Lily held on to the note Keanu had given her, reading the words again and again. Keep being strong and determined. The world is yours, Lily. The next day, the door to Lily's room opened and a new family walked in. They were smiling warmly, holding flowers and a teddy bear. They looked a little nervous but happy to meet her. Hello, Lily, the woman said softly. I'm Megan and this is my husband, David. We've been so excited to meet you. David held out the teddy bear. We hope you like him. We thought he could be your friend while you rest, he said. Lily took the teddy bear carefully, looking at it for a moment before saying quietly, Thank you. In the next few days, Lily was taken to her new home, a cozy house with walls painted in bright colors and a room just for her. Megan and David made sure she felt welcome, helping her settle in and making sure she felt comfortable. They were kind, always checking if she needed anything and giving her time to adjust. But even though she was grateful, Lily still had a little worry in her heart. What if they changed their minds? She wondered. What if I'm not good enough for them? One afternoon, while Megan cooked dinner and David put together a bookshelf in Lily's room, Lily sat at her desk. She decided to write a letter to Keanu to thank him for everything he had done and to tell him about her new life. Dear Keanu, thank you for helping me when I needed it most. You gave me more than just medicine or money. You gave me hope and a chance to have a family. Megan and David are very nice. They let me choose how to decorate my room, and I have a new teddy bear that I named Neo after you. I promise I will use my stubbornness to be strong and chase all my dreams just like you said. With love, Lily. After she folded the letter and put it in an envelope, Lily looked at the photo of herself and Keanu from the hospital. In the picture, she was holding the note Keanu had given her. The words on it were always in her heart now. Keep being strong and determined. The world is yours, Lily. With a happy heart, Lily smiled for the first time since she had lost her parents. She felt like she had finally found a home. Sometimes all it takes to change someone's life is one act of kindness. Be the difference in someone's life. If you enjoyed this story, share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories. I'll see you in the next video.